Hey everyone. So, here's why kindness can sometimes be mistaken for weakness. Well, from my personal experience, and I think it's interesting just because I've been on both sides of this dynamic, is growing up. These are like two things to watch out for, by the way. I didn't have like healthy boundaries in place, and I was a people pleaser. So, like, I found myself in situations where, like, say if I didn't do things according to someone else's expectations or according to their timeline, like, they'd get reactive or upset. And honestly, when I was younger, that used to bother me a lot just because, when they were upset, I was upset too, especially like if it was a closer relationship. And like that person might have gotten over it already, or like they've moved on with their life, basically. But I'd be replaying that situation over and over again in my head for like the next hour or maybe the entire day. And I realized at a certain point, like, hey, I need to figure out a solution, because if not, like, this isn't gonna work. Eventually, like, I realized, look, I have no energy to keep doing this. So now, like, I'm able to discern more by like just observing like that situation while it's happening. And again, if I'm not responding to the situation the way this person's expecting me to, or like according to their timeline, then and they get reactive, to me now it's like an indicator there's like another root issue. Yeah, I used to also like hold that against them, but now I don't, just because like, not everyone has these tools like to be self-aware. Their environment might not promote that kind of behavior, or it could just be their lifestyle, or maybe like their mind is already fixed, meaning like no matter what you say, no matter what you do, like their mind is just set already. And you can't really work with that, right? You can pray, but there's only so much you can do when it gets to that point. Yeah, like I realize now, like, it's not my job to correct people. And sometimes, unfortunately, it takes a really, really tough situation to open their eyes. I personally think that, there's no better teacher than like personal experience. Like, you can talk about certain things, you can talk about certain perspectives, but, you might not fully relate or understand it until like you find yourself in that person's shoes, right? And realistically, that's not always possible. So yeah, like now I just pray for that person. I pray that, whatever is causing them to react and live that way, I pray that, they heal from whatever is going on, and, they can open their eyes to a fresh perspective and approach life like in a more, I don't know the better word for this, mature way. And from experience, when you operate from that type of mindset, You can mistake kind people for weak people, and you might mistake them for a doormat, which is not the case at all, because when you think about it, kindness it takes a lot of discipline. And while that person could be reactive, it'd be very easy to be reactive, right? And it'd be very easy to get angry and hold grudges and be resentful and, like just react in a negative way. It takes discipline to hold that back and operate in like a different way. Like, hey, I'm just gonna do this out of good intentions. And if I'm in a position to help someone, then that's great. But like, if it gets to a point where I'm starting to feel something negative, then like, that's a good time to stop, because I don't want it to turn into something else later, right? Yeah, kindness is also powerful, because if you don't let whatever is going on in other people's lives affect, I guess, how kind you're willing to be, then you're not handing your power over to them. You get me? And on the flip side, I guess, like, that's what it took for me to finally understand that kindness isn't weakness, because, like, in my environment, like, everything is results driven. So, like, I used to operate from a place where, okay, like, this is what I want, and these are the steps I'm gonna take to achieve it. And in a different context, that's like great, that's like outstanding, that's what you want. But in this context, in terms of your relationships with actual people, it's not so good. And as I got older, I learned to be less selfish, which took me a while, honestly. Because now, whenever I need something, I need help specifically, I'm really upfront with what it is. I don't beat around the bush. I don't leave any room for any interpretation. If that person is willing to help me, then that's great. If not, then that does not hinder our relationship. I understand that what I'm saying is probably I'm probably reiterating things that you've heard before, but honestly, when I was in like tough situations, it was really hard to think about all these different things, like, taking a moment to like step back and observe and not react and such. But the more like I thought about it and the more I practiced it, the more natural it became.